What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa.
And I'm John Warren.
And today we have a really great episode in store for you guys. This was kind of a last minute kind of put together thing. I had some other things planned for the Friday show, but I'm really glad that I was able to get John on the program. John, how you doing today?
Doing great, guys. Cleared, so we're ready to go.
Yeah. So you're gonna be cleared to be playing college football again this season, first time in a little bit. I know you had some injuries going on, and obviously COVID played a big role with that. So you're back and better than ever.
I am pretty much.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun to see you back out on the field. I know it's been a little bit, but got the whole Barstool athlete deal going down. Got some good stuff over there.
I got a Barstool athlete, Celsius ambassador. I'm pretty much doing the whole thing right now.
Yeah, you're making that name you're making the name, image, and likeness deal. You're really utilizing it right now.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful experience.
So obviously on the show today, before we get into anything sports wise, John was here with me last night. He ended up saying that we were heavily anticipating the new Kanye West album Donda to be dropping today. But in typical Kanye fashion, he ended up completely ghosting us. Midnight came, Spotify crashed, and we were left with nothing.
Yeah, pretty much there was nothing to say about it. The Apple Music show that they were doing ended up being almost like an hour, 2 hours late.
Yeah.
But you did hear some tracks, and they were not that bad. They were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be coming out tonight. I don't know. If not, I'll be a little disappointed, but Kanye has been late on releasing some of his tracks before. So
yeah, it's very prototypical to Kanye, and sometimes he's either going to be a late release with stuff, or sometimes he just completely deletes albums. Like I know Yandi, he just completely deleted that, and we never got to see that. But the reason I'm somewhat confident that we will get Donda relatively soon, I mean, I know Jesus is King took like a month before that ended up coming out, but I feel fairly confident that we will be getting Donda because, of all the people that, have basically been let into the conversation. When Yandi came out, no one really heard any songs off Yandi. He didn't even release singles for that album. There wasn't really anything going into it. Same thing with Donda, but with this album, it's not like he's just showing off album covers saying like, these are some concepts I want to roll with, and these are some different things that I want to do. He obviously put out the big commercial with track star Shakira Richardson. He put that out during the NBA finals. In the little thing, there was a graphic saying that, hey, this album is going to release on Friday at midnight. So he was making that assertion. And I know Kanye has made those kind of promises before, but to do it off of Twitter and to do it in kind of a public stage, I think there is kind of a difference with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Beats commercial is huge.
Yeah.
And then also he had the whole listening party in Mercedes-Benz where he even came out and they played tracks and everything. But it goes more back to the fact that I think he kept wanting to add to it.
Yeah.
And like we saw the thing like 2 Chainz was in the studio.
Yeah,
like,
he was
at the Mercedes-Benz literally recording a verse like
20 minutes before Kanye went on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, Kanye and Mike Dean are probably mixing at the speed of light right now behind stage, trying to, get the stuff together. I mean, I have to assume Kanye probably go spread the motto of pressure creates diamonds, and you can't, and basically putting guys under kind of this sort of a pressure kind of really does that. I know he said there were reports that Jay-Z, who is on the album that was revealed during the show last night, that he possibly recorded a verse like at 4 p.m. like yesterday, and then it was being played to the studio or being played in front of the whole stadium like that night. There's a lot of crazy things that go on with Kanye tracks, and I hope that we do get a new album, and I am really excited for what's there. I do hope though that there are more tracks, because I know that there were promised tracks with Tyler the Creator. A bunch of other guys were being rumored. Post Malone I think was another rumored artist to be on the album. So I will be interested to see whether they all get these guys out there or what ends up happening.
Well, do you think it's a classic or not?
Based
off the listening.
I think based off the listening, you can tell that there's a lot of verses on there that I think Kanye wants to polish up, because like. I don't know. The intros kind of seemed like he was almost like, it didn't even seem like he had the right mic equipment. So I honestly think that he might have gone back in tonight and almost like done a more polished up verse. It sounded like it sounded more like a live concert performance than anything else. So I think I think there are some polishes to be made, but for the tracks I liked, I really liked.
Yeah, I agree. There were definitely a lot of likes. There also, I'm just a little upset that we only heard 7 tracks.
Yeah.
They were supposedly supposed to be like 20 plus. But
Yeah. So I'm hoping that is the case with the album. I'm hoping that this was just a sample of what we're going to be getting, because that, that's obviously what we hope to see. But we'll have to end up seeing what happens there. But hopefully we end up getting some new Kanye very soon. It's been 2 years now at this point. So if we can get a new album, new experience, I'd be really excited to see it. Hopefully Donda comes out sooner rather than later.
I would say so. I believe it will.
Mm-hmm. But kind of going off that, I did want to just touch on that really quick, because that's obviously a kind of a pressing story right now. If Donda's out by the time the show is out, then great. We'll be listening to that thing. But getting into sports now, this was kind of a story that we heard breaking while we were out at breakfast. We were kind of just chilling out, and it came up on our phones, and it really became a kind of a really interesting topic. So it was kind of being rumored for a while that the team known as the Cleveland Indians, currently the Cleveland Indians, were being rumored to be looking at changing their name to something that they deemed more appropriate. And they finally did come out today, and they said that in the 2022 season, they are going to be changing their name to the Cleveland Guardians. I don't know how I feel about that name. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I'm not talking about, the old name, the Indians, or anything like that. Just specifically on the name, the Cleveland Guardians, it just sounds like a minor league team name to me. It doesn't seem like a major league kind of team name. And I'm not saying Indians is either, but you think of a name like the Red Sox, and you think of the Yankees, you think of the Dodgers. There is kind of like a major league kind of like professionality to them. I don't know if the Guardians has that. It sounds almost like an AAU team name.
Yeah, to me it sounds more like a minor league, like a AA team, like the Sea Dogs.
Yeah, exactly. It just, and that's just from being a baseball fan and probably having my kind of like little things with it. It doesn't sound like a professional name yet. Maybe it'll gain that over time, but for right now, it just doesn't seem like it. And it also, the team could have gone a completely new direction, could have gone with new colors, could have gone with a bunch of stuff. It's pretty much the exact same thing. They just changed the wording. The lettering is pretty much the exact same. The uniforms, I can assume, will be the exact same. And it's kind of disappointing. If you had an opportunity to do something big and you kind of just, you just did the bare necessities. It really looked like it was thrown together at the last second, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And then also for the fact that they should have just gone with the older name, the Spiders.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Cleveland Spiders, that was their name before the Indians ever came into popularity. It was, while the Cleveland Spiders were kind of known for controversy because the owner of the Spiders was also the owner of another team in the MLB, and he would end up sending all the good players from the Spiders to the good team, and all the bad players from his team would go to the Spiders, and it was kind of like a feeder system. And now you can't own 2 teams in the MLB because of that. But that was the original legacy of the Cleveland Spiders. But I'd be interested to see it because they actually, the logo for the Cleveland Spiders was actually pretty sick. It was like, it's the classic C, but there's like the spider legs like kind of going off of it. And plus, if you were to do that, one, you could sell like new merch, and you could like create like a whole new like color scheme for the city of Cleveland, do a whole thing like that. And plus, you could also sell like kind of some retro merch and just be like, hey, like this is kind of a part of the city's history. The Guardians really has never had that place in Cleveland's history. The Spiders has. So I would have said go back to the Cleveland Spiders. There would have been a hint of history there, and that would have been my pick.
Yeah, I mean, keep it simple at that point. Like, you already have it kind of established, and I mean, yeah. I'm a little I feel bad because the Cleveland Indians, due to controversy, they're still kind of happen. The Atlanta Braves are still a thing too. They still have the chop and everything.
Yeah, they still got the tomahawk chop. The Kansas City Chiefs are still going to be rolling around. So I don't know exactly how this is going to be patrolled with certain team names like this. It will be interesting to see, with Guardians now off the table, what will the Washington football team now be calling themselves? Because that's now one team. The Guardians actually wouldn't have minded as much in football. I don't know about you.
It's a weird name.
It is just a weird name in general. I think for football it might work better because it's like, oh, like Guardians, like you're kind of like buff, like kind of like, almost like kind of like Roman, like gladiator types. Yeah. But for like baseball, it's like you're not throwing like gladiators or anything like that out on the baseball field. Like, it's not like, that's not really what kind of baseball is. Like, baseball is like any body type could really go out there and really, be successful.
Yeah, exactly.
But it will be interesting now to see what the Washington football team ends up going with, because now that is a name that is off their table, and I think that was a possible thing that they were going to look towards doing.
Right. So now it's just going to be really interesting to see what they do, because football team, well, yeah, that's an interesting name.
Yeah. They're rolling with it for this season, and some people say that they like it. I think it's just a stupid name. They really got to find something else.
I know. I like the logos though, how they're keeping it.
Yeah, I like how they are keeping the colors, doing things like that, but they need to find a new name and quick.
I agree.
Yeah. But going off that kind of concludes what we had in terms of that story with the whole Cleveland Indians to Guardians kind of controversy that kind of just came out today. It's a, kind of a really breaking story that, only kind of came out a couple hours ago. But going off that, we're going to go into a story that, originally was going to be like the main, like kind of baseball take on this show. But when the Cleveland Guardians news came out, we decided to completely, put that first, and frankly, rightfully so. But the story we were originally going to lead with was going to be talking about the Chicago White Sox and their rookie player, Yermin Mercedes. Have you been following this whole craziness?
Yeah, it's been kind of wild. I mean, from what I understand, he was really upset with Tony La Russa, and he got demoted to AAA, where he's having some struggles. But in the majors, in AAA, he's batting, I think he was like 300, and then he ended up retiring from baseball
for about a day. So, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know about the whole situation with Yermin Mercedes, I'll kind of do a quick overview. Was this really solid prospect kind of going on early for the what's it called? For the White Sox, was hitting about 400 in the month of April, had a solid May himself. And then it came to a certain part in the season. They were facing against the Minnesota Twins. They were blowing the other team's doors off. And at that point, the Twins put in a position player, I think it's Willen Astudillo. He's kind of a backup catcher, can play some third base, I think, as well. They put him in. He's throwing like 54-mile-an-hour meatballs. I even did a show with this on Robert Shelley. So with Robert Shelley of the Pesky Pole podcast. So make sure you guys go check out that episode, because we went more into depth with it there. But this guy hits a home run on a 3-0 pitch. Tony La Russa says that's breaking the unwritten rules of baseball. His own manager says that, his own manager was basically saying that, if whatever happens, this guy, he probably deserves it. And there was like a whole bunch of controversies there. The guy starts to hit poorly, goes down the minor leagues, has some success, but the guy was 28, and he was probably thinking at the same time, I'm back down the minor leagues. It's taken me a long enough time to get up to the majors. Who knows when I'm going to get my next shot? And he called it quits for about a day. And I think enough people got in his head and we're just like, dude, what are you doing? And he was back within like 12 hours, and he was on his team's AAA lineup like that very next night.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. So I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know. Maybe his account was hacked, but very weird situation. I wonder what's going to go on with him. But a good friend of mine on TikTok, he ended up saying, "Hey, Kami," who was obviously on the last episode. He ended up mentioning this guy's had Yasiel Puig's career in about the span of 5 months, like with all the controversies. So I will be interested to see what happens with Mercedes next. I mean, you're batting 300 in AAA. That is usually a good sign for you to get another shot. Maybe they bring him up around September and give him another shot there. But very interesting situation. I hope the best for him. But mentally, I'm kind of concerned, but we'll have to see what goes on.
Well, I mean, everyone has those days where they're like, "Oh, I hate work and everything," and then, they try to come in, and then they obviously come in the next day, and they're like, their last shift, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm never coming back here again," and then see them in the morning. So I mean,
exactly. No, so I do wonder what's going on with that there. Maybe he just like had a bad day. Social media was just there as an outlet for him, and he just wanted to spark up some stuff, but. Very, very weird day. Hopefully he is okay mentally, and hopefully he can get back to the majors and have some success.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will. He's young enough. I mean, 28.
Yeah,
so.
He's in the prime of his career. He hopefully he can make something out for him.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Going off that though, also another big story that broke in MLB news yesterday was that speaking of the Minnesota Twins, who we kind of brought up, when talking about the whole Yermin Mercedes controversy, The Minnesota Twins ended up shipping off, their big slugger, Nelson Cruz, a guy who I've been following for years at this point because he's because I've talked to my grandfather about this guy. He's a cheap buy. But all he does is just hit home runs. And, he's got a good average to boot with that. I think he was hitting like 295 before the deal went through. He's getting shipped off to the Tampa Bay Rays to, help them help bolster their offense and get them ready for a postseason run. What do you think about this deal?
I think that's huge. I mean, the Rays are tied. No, the Rays are in second place.
Yeah,
right
they're in
now.
second place currently with the Red Sox.
Last night.
Yeah.
Great win, by the way.
Oh my God, we'll be getting to that in a sec.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty huge. This guy, like, I've seen him play. He's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always solid.
Yeah.
And he's very, very consistent when it comes to hitting home runs. So, I mean, it's a great pickup, and I think it's pretty big for the Rays. I think the Red Sox have to do something. We need to figure out, maybe add that one more piece, that one more pitcher, that one more reliever that I think we need. I mean, I guess you could really count our trade deadline as Chris Sale coming back as a Red Sox fan, because that's going to be huge if he comes back 100% healthy.
Yeah.
But I would say that's a pretty big piece, and that's a great move by the Rays organization.
I agree. I think it was a great move for them. I do wonder what the Red Sox are going to do here. I mean, pitching, I think, is definitely a big need for us. While Chris Sale will be, great to get back, we're not losing any money off the books by bringing him back or paying him that money anyway. So it'll definitely be worth getting up. But I'm interested to see what will happen because, another rumored pickup that's kind of been linked to the Red Sox has been Anthony Rizzo. I'd really be pumped to see that. A lot of people are saying that him and the Red Sox seem like a match made in heaven, which is ironic because he started his career in the Boston minor league system. I think he made it all the way up to Portland before we shipped him off to Chicago.
Wow.
And he ended up going off there. He had his career with Theo Epstein out in Chicago. And maybe he makes his way back home to Boston. It'd be really nice to see. He's hitting down the 240s this year, but a more proven left-handed bat, and with the postseason experience he's had, I'd love to see him in a Boston uniform.
He would have a good leadership too.
100%.
Definitely a veteran presence.
He'd fit in great. I think that would be 100% the move that we need to make.
I agree. It would just be interesting on how many years we would pick him up for. How much is on his contract left? Do you know?
I don't have those exact numbers on me, unfortunately.
Yeah, because that would be my question, is because how long would you really want to keep him around for?
Yeah, I'm assuming if we're picking him up, it's on a shorter kind of leash, maybe 2 years at most that we'd have him. But, I think just to get a guy like that in the lineup, make a push in the postseason, it's the move I'd like to see. I know Chris Bryant and Craig Kimbrell are other guys on the market, but I don't think Bryant's necessarily the guy you bring here. Kimbrell, I'd love to see back in Boston because he's having a career year this year.
That would be incredible.
And just to top off that bullpen, it'd be amazing.
That would be great. I think we should, but I don't know if we will.
Yeah,
he would be demanding money.
Yeah, because I think there are some rumors right now that Chaim Bloom isn't really trying to go all in right now with this team. He maybe wants to build for a couple years down the line and then make his big push. But I would try to make some moves that could really impact this postseason. I think it would be a good sign for these guys, get us back in the postseason, give us some life there, and I think it'd be great to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make a good push this season. I think we will, regardless, make a good push. I think it's more based on how we're playing at the moment, and then also it goes back to how good we can play against the Astros. So that'll be the biggest concern I would have.
Yeah, it will be the biggest concern. I mean, the Astros have been on another world this year. Maybe there's another cheating scandal going down there, but we'll have to see what happens. So
maybe.
But going off that, the next story I wanted to cover in MLB news, you kind of brought it up a little bit early. But the Boston Red Sox game last night was absolutely electric. We were down here. It was you, me, and Pat. We were watching things going down. We were listening to the Kanye show a little bit earlier, but we ended up tuning into the Red Sox game at the conclusion. We tune in at just the right time. It's the ninth inning, and it looks like we're about to, unfortunately take a loss to the Yankees. We're down 3-1. But Kike Hernandez comes up to the plate, drives in 2, ties the game up, sends things to extras. And, the Yankees end up getting one back, and it's 4-3 because of that stupid extra inning rule. We'll get to that in a second and talk about the potential future of that. But a runner gets on second base there. They end up scoring, but we get an opportunity in the bottom of the 10th. And my God, what an ending to that game. Basically, thanks to the basically thanks to the pitching of New York Yankees pitcher Brooks Kriske, I think is how you say his name. But he came in the game and wow.
That was probably the worst pitching performance I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, this guy looked like he hadn't like ever stepped on a mound before. It was actually
brutal.
It was actually kind of like painful to watch.
Just him trying to throw a splitter.
Yeah, he was trying to throw a splitter that just would not work. And I was going through Twitter today to find out like a little bit more about him. 15 hours ago, I like immediately following the result of that game, he just got sent back down to AAA.
Jeez.
Like at the conclusion of that game. So I think they brought him up as like just an extra guy. Had that unfortunate situation, got sent back down. And I think for him that's probably not the worst thing. Get him back down there, get him some more reps because
awful.
Yeah, no, I really do feel bad because it was just like really ugly to watch. He got Rafi Devers in on a on basically two back-to-back like wild pitches. Devers got the third and then scored on another, and then other just terrible pitching, got guys on base. Bogarts ended up going over to third on eventually,
yeah.
and then a sac fly by Hunter Renfroe basically ended the whole thing. All in all, like I feel really bad for this guy because like he completely just like did not have
literally as soon as he started throwing fastballs, he let up a sac fly out.
Yeah.
But again, I mean that happened too. Like we weren't pitching terrible either. And like it should have been no people on base by the old rules, but by the new extra inning rules with the man on second, tags up, goes home.
I mean, we were kind of talking about it that like even with that, maybe we end up like walking it off anyways because we instead maybe we win like 4-3 instead of 5-4
still.
But it was definitely an ugly scene. I was kind of looking through it and there was like just a bunch of stuff that really just went wrong. It was not good. Like it was.
One thing to note though, Duran is very fast.
Yeah, he's freakishly.
He's rated technically on the MLB scale at 5 at speed.
Really?
In case you're wondering, he came in the league at 7. I think it was 70 out of 80.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So very fast. I was watching him run the bases on a replay, and he is ridiculously fast.
Yeah, I mean he's ridiculously fast. I'm hoping that we will be using him as much more than just as a speedy pinch runner in extra innings, but I like the promise of it so far. But before we conclude with this whole segment on Brooks Kriske, it kind of brings to light a topic about the yips in professional sports. A lot of guys have gotten the yips at different times. Whether it be
gotten the yips,
whether it be Markelle Fultz, not being able to shoot a free throw, to Mackie Sasser not being able to throw the ball back to the pitcher when he was like literally just sitting behind home plate catching the ball. This is definitely kind of reminiscent of that. Another guy who comes to mind is Rick Ankiel, pitcher at the time. I think it was for the Cardinals. Was kind of a flamethrower. Had some power in his arm, but at one point just could not touch the strike zone to save his life, and it got so bad that he literally went back down to the minor leagues and had to become a position player because he just ended up losing all of the control that he once had. So. It's happened to a lot of guys. I'll be interested to see if he can ever make it back. If this guy can recover from it, I hope he can. But definitely was a devastating night for him, mentally. So I wish him the best. But my God,
yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah,
there was no other way to put it. It's like Giannis shooting free throws.
Yeah, it was brutal. But going off that, we were talking about runners on base to start extra innings. And, that's possibly a rule that could be going by the wayside next season. I meant to talk about this on my last show, but with everything I was getting into with Hey Kami, there was just so much stuff that I could not cover. And this was one of them. So, very recently, Rob Manfred ended up coming out there with I think it was like a memorandum or some sort of announcement. And he was saying that the MLB is going to be looking to get rid of, I think, at least they're at least going to be looking to do away with the 7 innings double headers next season, as well as starting extra innings with a runner on second base. Frankly, I am in favor of this rule because there were so many unfortunately because of it there were just so many problems that were kind of coming up as a result of it. Basically, even though there's a runner on second base, when he scores, it wasn't being charged with the pitcher's ERA, but I think the pitcher could still be charged with a loss, even though he's letting up a run that he had no control over. If he ended up, if he, if he ended up like getting a fly out and the guy advances to third and then he gets like a grounder to second and that guy scores, like he shouldn't be letting it a run because
he shouldn't be at fault at that point. Like it's ridiculous.
But they were counting guys like that with the loss. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. So I think that, that's a rule that I'm definitely going to be excited to see done away with. And the 7-inning double headers as well. There were so many kind of, little things going on with that, because it's like, how do you kind of measure the amount of like strikeouts per 9 that this guy has? How do you measure like certain stats in relation to the 7 innings that are being played? And also I know Madison Bumgarner, I think he had either a no hitter or a perfect game through 7 innings. And it was in one of those double headers, and he couldn't go out for the other 2 innings. But MLB would not give him like a no hitter or a perfect game or whatever it was. Because that it technically is by the 9-inning standard. But even though that's the minimum, they wouldn't give it to him. So there were so many problems going on with that in general. I'm really glad that we're seeing away with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, the runner on second, that kind of takes away a lot from the game, I feel like.
Yeah, and it makes it seem like a video game. It makes it seem like very gimmicky. It's like I get like certain rules where it's like, oh, we want to like make overtime a little bit special and we want to do certain things like this. But why with baseball are we adding in like these little kind of gimmicky things? Like there's like other things you could do but to like make extra innings a bit interesting, but doing something like that where you're just like trying to create more offense and trying to do like other things like this, that isn't it in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely different to begin with, and the doubleheader rule I think is a better idea too, because it gives players a little more time to rest also.
Yeah, I would just say get rid of the double headers in general. Yeah. I mean, no one wants to be playing double headers, so like try to find days to space out the season. If teams have to play, at most like 2 to 3 double headers a year, then fine, you do that. But you don't want to have these
cut them down.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to try to just cut these double headers down, and hopefully they end up doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, hopefully they end up doing that, but we'll have to see what goes on. I'm hoping that that ends up going by the wayside. But that kind of concludes what we have in MLB news. In NBA news, really quick, I just wanted to touch on the fact that I talked about it very briefly on my last show, like, and as if like basically to say you want to say brief, I mean like a sentence. But obviously, congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks, NBA champions.
Giannis did it.
Yeah, he did it. I mean, we were I was kind of in it to see the Suns take home the chip, but I'm very glad for Giannis. It's a hell of an accomplishment for him. He's 26 years old, and they were talking about guys like LeBron, Jordan, a bunch of these other guys. Like they were saying like none of these guys at their age had any championships.
Yeah. So basically, the thing is that the biggest stat is that the only people to win Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, multiple MVPs, and then Finals MVP is Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, and Giannis.
It's a hell of a list to be on. I am very grateful that he can now consider himself one of those players. I hope that he has an amazing career ahead of himself. I know he dropped the 50-piece and then went to Chick-fil-A and got the 50-piece chicken nugget.
This is also crazy too. If you're listening about this,
yeah,
Giannis ended up hitting 17 of 19 free throws in that final game.
Really?
17 of 19.
Yeah, and that's like
scored 50 points.
Yeah, for Giannis, that's not really something
crazy.
You hear about. Like, he wanted that badly.
He was criticized for that, made the free throws, did everything right, and he finished that kind of Kobe promise, honestly, because Kobe was like won an NBA championship because he did those Kobe challenges, if you can remember back then.
Yeah.
Where the first one was, if I'm correct, to win MVP, he did that, and Kobe was like, great job, like try to win a championship, and then he won it, and that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great image for the league too. I mean, Giannis is just an all-around good player. Like there's no controversy or anything that comes with him.
Yeah,
he's pretty much just a guy trying to make it.
He's just a genuinely good dude, and I'm
playing basketball really for like half of his like life too.
Yeah,
like it's been like what 10 years.
Yeah, it has
playing professional basketball.
Like it hasn't even been that long. Like it's crazy how like quickly he ended up like picking up the game and just dominating at it.
Crazy.
It's mind-boggling. But going off of that, I'm really pumped for Giannis, but just wanted to touch on that really quickly because wanted to say congrats to the city of Milwaukee. It's been 50 years, so hope you enjoy it.
On the Down to the Wire podcast, we're pretty excited about Giannis winning, but we're also more excited about Bobby Portis winning.
Yeah, very excited about Bobby
Big Bobby Portis fans around here.
Yeah, my God. Wow. We were watching the game with Pat, and he was just going, that guy is out of his mind.
I know, he was excited to win.
I mean, good thing for Bobby. I mean, we all love him. So, congrats, man. We all the best to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well done.
Absolutely. But, going off that, that kind of concludes like the little thing I wanted to talk about with NBA. But going into a sport that we haven't touched on in a little bit, this will also be a shorter topic, but and NHL news, which I know you haven't heard for a while on this show. But the reason I wanted to get into it is because the Seattle Kraken recently just held their expansion draft. I
saw that.
They were looking. They have to form a team, so they need to go through the whole expansion process. And in the process of it, I guess a bunch of their picks got leaked on Twitter before they made any of them, and it was like a whole thing going on there. But I know they ended up taking a Bruins player. They took Jeremy Lauzon. They took him away from us, which
he's the guy. If anyone at home is listening, he's the guy who let up the goal against the Islanders, completely dropped the puck.
Yeah. So I was talking with Bruins fans about this, and they were saying if all the guys to go, bye, Jeremy. I was like, damn, that's tough.
Well, yeah, he's the most recent memory, but he was a hustle guy. He was on the hustle line that we had. So, I mean, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there were too many dynamic parts of his game. I think he was just kind of a fill-in type of guy. I think that we can hopefully get a plug-in guy like that in free agency. And, I wish him the best of luck, though. I mean, going to Seattle, that's a new market. I'll be interested to see how they end up doing.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to touch on in NHL news, staying with the Boston Bruins, we ended up signing Taylor Hall to a 4-year, $24 million deal.
I'm very excited about that.
I am too. Former MVP for only $6 million bucks.
Wanted to stay in Boston. I'm pretty sure he was in Boston before. I could be wrong.
He wasn't in Boston before. So, the thing with him is that I think, even though he won an MVP, he was saying that he doesn't really want to be like the guy. He isn't trying to be like a Sidney Crosby. I think at this point, he's trying to win a championship. And by staying in Boston with the cast of characters that you got there, you have a really good opportunity to do that.
Especially with the amount of players we have for the low money.
Absolutely. So,
saving a ton of money right now.
Mm-hmm. And getting a guy like that back, hopefully I don't know if he was all the way healthy, but if he ends up getting all the way healthy, it'll be
he's not a very aggressive guy, but he's very talented with the shooting and his puck handling. So.
Yeah. And I know sometimes around the league, he isn't the most likable guy. So I think him and Marchand are going to have a hell of a time with each other.
It'll be funny. Yes, definitely.
So I hope they end up playing off with that nicely, but that kind of concludes what we have in NHL news. Then you ended up bringing something up to me that was kind of very interesting in NCAA football news.
Yeah, so a lot of people, as you know, are making brand deals like Spencer Radler. I think it got sponsored by Raging Cane's, like for food. Really? And the Oklahoma Sooners, showing how
showing off like brand new Lambos and everything like that with their students.
That's kind of crazy. They're using that as a marketing idea. Dabo Sweeney bringing in the new recruits on a helicopter ride over Clemson. It's ridiculous what they're doing right now, but it is rumored right now that one of the Alabama players, they're expecting the star QB, Bryce Young, 5-star, #1 dual threat coming out in his class, went to Alabama. He is rumored to be making figures up to $7 million per year in college.
Were you hearing $7 million or 7 figures?
$7 million.
Really?
So he's rumored to be making about $7 million in sponsorships and stuff through college right now.
You got to be kidding me. That is insane.
That is the rumor right now. He's supposedly making millions of dollars right now in college. And the crazy thing is that he's only played like, I think 2 or 3 games.
That's absolutely wild. I mean,
so that really brings it the aspect of
how big this thing is getting.
How big it is, like realistically. Like it's crazy. It's, to me, that is mind-boggling right now.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling to see. I mean, I hope it just keeps going up from here. Maybe we will be seeing the return of the NCAA video game. We can only hope and pray.
Yeah, I believe that'll be happening too.
I think it is. So that's
kind of crazy. Yeah. And what's else new, I guess you could say, in college football is Texas, Oklahoma, I believe.
Yeah.
They're going to be moving to the SEC.
Yeah, they're leaving the Big 12.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I know. Like, so I'm not. Do you know what necessarily this is over? Like, is this because of anything COVID related? Do you know what the whole deal is with this, because this was kind of a very, like recent move going on. I know, going into the COVID season with certain teams saying that they weren't going to be playing at all. Certain teams were trying to say like, oh, we'll join the SEC, we'll join the Big Ten, like trying to basically join any team, basically trying to join any league they could in order to, get a season in. But now going off this, is there any like news on that?
Yeah, so there is. So pretty much it's more how they're owned by the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
That's their conference that they're in. They owe about $76 million a piece to buy out the remaining rights, because the Big 12, the way it works, owns the media rights to them.
Mm-hmm.
So like coverage, like football, like all that, they would owe them that much. But they, as football programs go, you have new deals and price tags.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much they were talking about they would make a push to add Texas and Oklahoma, maybe Notre Dame.
Really?
Yeah, to schedule them for more like TV contracts, so you
Yeah.
can see the bigger schools on there. So that's pretty much more of what it's about, is TV and viewership.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, no, that is pretty crazy. I mean, is there really anything going on with that? I mean,
It's supposedly, it's all kind of in the works right now. It just kind of was a big name because you put Texas A&M too is possibly leaving, and it's kind of a big name.
So is the Big 12 like coming down, or like what's the deal? It's like,
well, they want to play better competition.
Yeah.
So it's more based off that and viewership and getting your athletes, well, now more towards like getting your athletes more like
recognition
face time and
yeah.
recognition. So, I mean, you playing schools like, I don't know, Kent State, and you're playing schools and smaller schools like that, you're not going to get as much time as Alabama, or you're going to play Auburn and the Iron Bowl and stuff like that, regardless of what conference it's in. But yeah, pretty much I think it's more towards that and renewing the contract and trying to get more face time and viewership.
I mean, hell, I'm excited to see that. I mean,
it's not confirmed whatsoever. Like, it's kind of all in the works. It kind of just popped up, and it was very interesting because the SEC still is like trying to figure it out and everything else. And
yeah,
and college football advisors need to sign off on a bunch of things. There's a whole
there's got to be so much paperwork involved with it. If they were to do that though, would they be in it this season, or would they have to wait a year?
It would be 2025.
2020. Okay, so it would be a little.
It would be down the road.
Okay,
that's when the contract goes out, but technically they could buy it out now if they wanted to.
Okay,
it's like almost like it's like an option.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's just like Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, go. It's just like,
it would be very weird, but I mean, I would love to see it. Like, that would be kind of cool.
I mean, I want to see the best of the best compete.
Yeah, they were thinking about almost having think about in division, it would be like Alabama, Georgia, like Notre Dame.
Wow.
Like, you would have basically the power conference.
That's insane.
And that's what they're trying to do. So like, you would watch those games more than like you're watching like Texas Tech versus Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you would watch an Alabama Notre Dame.
Yeah, that would be electric. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what they're trying to do. But realistically, I don't know how possible that is. But it's very interesting and very cool for like, a younger fan like me or you.
Oh,
or
yeah.
anyone really, just to like watch it because you want to see, the best of the best play.
100%. Kind of staying with football. I mean, there's a whole lot of speculation going into the NFL season as well. There's there's been some, kind of stories that have been popping up very recently. I know, a lot of it has, right now is being due to COVID.
Right.
I saw a recent thing that came out from the NFL, and it said if they have too many unvaccinated players and there's an exposure, instead of doing like the rescheduled games where teams are playing on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays and like doing anything like that, I think last year the NFL, I think they played like a game on every single day of the week at one point. Everything.
It was ridiculous.
It was actually ridiculous, and it was all over the place. But now I guess the NFL is saying that if a team has, has too many unvaccinated players and they have an outbreak, they'll be forced to forfeit a game instead of, doing a rescheduling. Which is kind of crazy, but I mean, especially with the 17 game schedule coming in. But, do you think we'll end up seeing this being put into action, or, what are your thoughts on this?
It's very interesting, and it kind of goes back to the point of free choice, and all that. Like, should the vaccination be mandatory or not, and all these different things. But it's a lot. That's a
whole political game that we can.
I don't want to get into politics at all, but
the whole politics of the vaccine and all that stuff. Like, I'm not really. That's never been my kind of MO with it. But just looking at it from a sports standpoint, it's crazy to see because, if like I can't imagine the last time we've seen a team have to like physically forfeit. I know we've seen teams throw in the towel and like, you know, go and lose like games like 59-0, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't think we've ever been alive to see a team literally, you know, like actually say like we can't play this game, so we're just taking the defeat. I think the closest we ever came, like, you know, kind of ironically, was when the Chiefs equipment for one of the games in New England didn't show up on time, and it was like, oh, if they don't get here within a certain window, then the Chiefs would be forced to forfeit the game. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's just like I don't know. I hope we don't have to see any teams forfeit this year, but if we do, that would be quite the spectacle.
It would be very interesting to see. And it would also
it'd be historic in the worst possible sense.
Yeah, I would agree. And then there's more like some players, like, you know, thinking about retirement, like Hopkins.
Yeah,
is the biggest one.
DeAndre Hopkins came out. You know, that was a big story as well. DeAndre Hopkins came out and said with the whole vaccine rules right now, he's thinking about
And then even coaches have been fired. Like today, the Patriots assistant line coach. I do not know his name.
Cole Popovich is his name. So I don't know if necessarily if they're actually firings at this point, or if they're
it's mutual pardons is what they're calling it. Because the Vikings offensive line coach has also been.
Yeah, he's also been forced to leave, which is it seems like this is only the beginning of this kind of a controversy coming to play. I know DeAndre Hopkins came out and said he ended up saying, I believe I have like 9 years left of playing, but if this is going to be the mandate, then he might consider sitting out. And I know Cole Beasley has been vehemently against the vaccine and different things like that. So, you know, going into it, to say I'm worried about certain players is, you know, it's kind of an understatement. Now, I do think with Hopkins, it is a threat, and I think he probably, you know, will be playing this season. If not, you know, I don't think he's going to do a full, you know, retirement and walk away from the game. But could I see him doing a Le'Veon Bell sit out a year in protest? Yes, I could see him doing something like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely interesting. I mean, like, at least like it goes like state mandates and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
Like maybe like, let's say like Arizona doesn't require you to have it, but then he comes up here to Foxborough or in Massachusetts, where I know as me as an athlete, I have to have it.
Yeah, I have to have it. I have to have it to go back to Bryant in the fall.
Exactly. So if he comes up here, then he has to sit out a game in like New England. There's a lot of moving pieces right now about that, but it's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, there's a ton of moving pieces with it, and I'm just wondering, like, you know, I know Tom Brady, like, I will be interested to see what happens with him. I think he ended up getting vaccinated, so it shouldn't be an issue with him. But I know, like, you know, you never really saw him, like, you know, doing any social distancing or whatnot. Like, he was out at parks during COVID and whatnot. But I mean, I'd have to think that Tom Brady's kind of untouchable when it comes to COVID restrictions. I think, you know,
he's the face right now of the league.
Yeah, he's the face of the league, and the man, I think he just has the cure at this point. Like, he's like completely immune, 100%. But I will be interested to see what happens with this. There's a lot of possibilities of what could go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's only the beginning too. So
it's only the beginning stages with this whole rollout. So, you know, it wouldn't also surprise me too if Roger Goodell kind of has to backtrack and say like, well, maybe we can work something out. But you know, because I think the original ruling was that if was like guys could do it, but they'd have to live like a very different lifestyle. Like they'd still have to do like the whole quarantines. Like they'd have to, you know, be like very like locked up, and they would probably have to travel on different ways of travel and couldn't like be like with the team directly.
Yeah.
But you know, with this new ruling, I will be interested to see what goes on.
Yeah, I agree too. You know,
especially with I believe fans with the NFL will. I think they'll be allowing unvaccinated fans in the stadium. So, you know, if they're not requiring it for the fans who are going to be packed in like sardines, I wonder what they're going to be doing for the players.
Exactly.
So there's a whole bunch of craziness going on there. But kind of concluding with that, I think that you know, I think it's officially time to say we are down to the wire. So I'm going to do a quick run through of what we talked about in this episode, and we'll end up sending you guys off on your weekend. We have a bunch of stuff in store for next week, so that will be something to definitely check out. Got some big athlete interviews coming up. I've been talking with John about some of those, so those will be exciting to see.
Very interesting to see.
But obviously, you've had John back on the show, man. It was great to have you back on. We're going to be enjoying the weather after this. Hopefully the rain outside has cleared up in the time since we've been in here. But obviously, we talked about the potential of Kanye West album Donda releasing today. It's
still waiting.
Our hopes are dwindling. Let's do a live check right now. We'll see if it's out. We're on Spotify. Going to go to Kanye West, and as of right now, there is no Donda. So if it does come out, we will be pleasantly surprised. But going off that, in MLB news, we talked about the Indians changing their name to the Cleveland Guardians as of the 2022 season. We talked about Yermín Mercedes retiring and unretiring from the game of baseball within the span of a day. We talked about Nelson Cruz to Tampa, as well as the Yankees collapse in extra innings due to wild pitches. We talked about MLB looking to repeal extra inning runners and 7-inning doubleheaders, as well as the Bucks winning the NBA championship. In NHL news, we talked about the Seattle Kraken recently holding their expansion draft and the Bruins signing Taylor Hall to a contract extension. In NFL news, we talked about, and basically we concluded in NFL news with teams, possibly having to forfeit games next year due to COVID exposures, as well as players such as DeAndre Hopkins saying that they may end up sitting out the season or possibly even walking away from the game entirely if they are forced to get the vaccine. So, it's definitely going to be a wild ride in the NFL. Can't wait to get back into some more mainstream NFL content when that starts to come around. I know preseason's coming up next month. Fantasy football is going to be getting into full swing as well, so can't wait for that. But if you're not falling down to the wire at this point, what the hell are you guys doing? I mean, I've said it on every single episode. So, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, but the main hub you can reach us through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.tothewire, again, at down.tothewire. Make sure you go follow that. John, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this show?
My first pick of the fantasy NFL draft, I'm going to be taking Saquon Barkley.
I like it. I'm either looking at Kamara, Derrick Henry. Let's do it.
All righty.
But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm John Warren. Thank you, guys.
And have a good weekend.